tools needed for soldering. The first one you would need is the ESD strap, the soldering lead, a damp cloth, or you can use a sponge if no damp cloth, a soldering stand with soldering iron. Okay, the first step for soldering is to put on your ESD strap. Okay. Connect it to any metal so that you could ground yourself and avoid ESD coming from your body to damage the components. Next, plug the soldering iron so that you could heat up and use it. Put it in the soldering stand so that you would avoid burning any parts of your table. Wait until the soldering iron is hot. Hold the soldering iron to know if it's hot. Hold the soldering iron and use a piece of soldering lead. On the tip, put a little amount. If the soldering iron or the soldering lead melts, then your soldering iron is already hot. Then, to do the cleaning technique, scrub your soldering iron to a damp cloth. Wait until the end of that soldering iron is almost the same as the soldering lead. Then, if it's the same, you don't need to do the steps again. If it's not, continue cleaning the tip or do the cleaning technique to know if your soldering iron is ready to be used. Things you would need to mount your components. The first one you would need is your PCB or the printed circuit board. The components, different varieties of components, eraser, pencil eraser, for you to clean the PCB. Next, you would be needing a long nose, a side cutting plier. Of course, since you're going to mount, you would be needing a soldering lead. And you will be needing a soldering iron with stand that is already reheated. So the first step is for you to clean your PCB board. Since it's unclean, you must use your pencil eraser to remove the dirt from the copper. Just do the proper erasing until it is shiny. Once the copper is already clean, choose the component which is the flat ones going to the tallest ones. So arrange your components according to height. So the flat ones would be your diode, resistor, then next would be your LED, the IC, the capacitor, non-polarized, and the polarized capacitor. So the first thing you should mount always would be the flat surface. Next, remove any excess from the components. After that, we should bend it accordingly. Use a long nose to bend the terminals of your components. So it should be at your desired length or according to this layout. So after bending, make sure that the component is not damaged. Then insert it on top since we are going to solder it on the copper cloth. After inserting, turn it again so you could solder. Solder, you must perform your cleaning technique to make sure that the soldering iron is clean and it's still heated. Next, solder first the first terminal. The first one to be put is the soldering iron. Put the tip on the terminal. Then put a little amount of solder. When heated up, move it up. Do it again to the other terminal. For your conveniency, you can turn the components. So put it again. The first one should be the soldering iron, then soldering lead. Melt it and move it up. After soldering, check if you have already soldered it properly. Move the components. It should not be removed. After that, cut any excess terminal using the side cutting plier. Make sure that when you cut, it's already on the tip or at the end of the terminal. To do the soldering techniques using a soldering pump, you need a soldering pump. You will be needing a long nose plier. Of course, a preheated soldering iron with soldering stand. And of course, you will be needing a soldering lead. Okay po? So, the component should be removed is this one. To remove the component from its soldered, put it on the table. Again, the preheated soldering iron. Put a little bit of soldering lead, soldering pump, and inspect if there's still a solder left. If there is none, you can use the long nose plier to remove the terminals. Then do the same again to the other end of the component. Again, put the soldering iron, reheat it, put a little amount of soldering lead. Bakit ganun? When it's already melted, use the soldering pump to remove. Then, inspect. After inspecting, pull the terminal.